Mobius the Frost Monarch, ladies and gentlemen, should have been banned. So there's this article floating around. It actually just got posted a couple days ago. You can see the upload date is June 14th. A Mr. Scott Baird posted this on the wonderful website. Definitely not just clickbait crap all the time. Screen Rant. And I've gone over some Screen Rant Yu-Gi-Oh! Articles in the past on live streams. But I just have to make a video about this one because it's... I don't know what's going on. I'm going to be honest. There's so many things in this article that I'm just really confused at who this is marketed towards. I think it's marketed towards people that haven't played the game in a long time and just are like, I don't know the average Screen Rant reader. But they mentioned some modern cards in it, but they mentioned some old cards too. And it's just weird. So the concept is pretty simple. It's 15 cards so powerful that they should have been banned. So it's talking about cards that many of these cards actually were on the Forbidden Limited list for like a hot minute or maybe even years, but they never got banned. That's at least the idea. But I don't know what's going on. Mainly because like half these paragraphs in this article are like really on point. They actually know. There's like mentions of card advantage. There's like mention of certain formats, and then the other half is just like, what were you playing? Like, were you playing at the lunch table or like the recess playground? It's just, you'll just see. Anyway, this starts off with like talking about like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list in general, like why it was made, and that stuff is all pretty accurate. It's basically talking about like the BOS and Chaos Emperor Dragon and the Yada lock, all that sort of stuff. And then so like when I first read that, I was like, okay, maybe this article is actually going to be like kind of interesting. Maybe they are going to make some good points. And then I started reading it and I was like, what are they talking about? So number 15, they think that Honest should have been banned. The reasoning for this is basically, it's like the anti-hand trap thing, which is kind of interesting. So if we, now you can see the next one too. But basically the thing with Honest was that like it's too hard to negate. I don't know if they ever, it seems like they haven't heard of any other hand traps, but like they're talking about here that like this method of activation, referring to like hand traps, is incredibly hard to counter in most circumstances, as most cards that negate or destroy other cards can only affect them when they are on the field. Like I said, it's like the anti-hand trap argument, but instead of like talking about any relevant card, they talk about Honest. Maybe this was true when it first came out. That's why it originally got restricted in the first place. But even then, this card wasn't that broken. It was just like kind of annoying. But why they put Honest on this list instead of Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, Drone Lockbird, any of those types of cards, that's beyond me. But the fact of the matter is, of all the hand traps, they picked Honest to go on this list. The next one that you just saw, Mobius the Frost Monarch, ladies and gentlemen, should have been banned. I know it's never been restricted at all. I know it's never been a complained about card, but they believe, and they talk about like how any of the monarchs can, like any of the original monarchs could have had like been on the list. Like there can be an argument made for any of the original ones to be on the list. That's not true. I mean, the Earth one is terrible. Thessalos isn't like the greatest monarch ever. Like Zaborg was like okay, I guess, but it was severely outclassed by Ryza and Caius. This is where I started wondering, who are these people that thought Mobius was better than like anything? Like Mobius, don't get me wrong, it's a good card. I have my ultimate rare playset for GOAT format because it's cool. It's all right. But worth banning? I don't know about that. Next up, and then they're back on track, like Tour Guide. I can see an argument for Tour Guide being banned. It probably is not good enough. Even the two times it was at its best, which is when it first came out, when Exceed Summons were coming out, and then also the next time when it came back to 3 copies and was played in Burning Abyss. Even in both those states, the card never probably warranted a ban. It was probably just fine at 1 or 2, and just historically speaking, like this card was okay at 1 or 2 copies per deck. It never really needed to be banned. I mean, it does take a normal summon. It does require, in the olden days when this card first came out, it did require playing some Garnets. You played Sangan, you played Night Assailant sometimes when it was at 2. Yeah, probably not worth banning, but nevertheless. Then they talk about Reckless Greed. I don't know. Basically what they say here, right, and you might have just seen that other one, it's so annoying. Like, I don't like the ones that like are like a slideshow, you have to like click the next thing, but actually for videos are like a lot easier. Anyway, The reason that they talk about Reckless Greed being good is that this will almost always be to the player's advantage that's using this, as having access to more cards give you more of a chance to take control of the field. This is like one of the moments where like I'm conflicted, because on one hand, not only here but in another section they mention card advantage, not directly but indirectly. Like right here they're talking about how having more options means that you have a better chance of winning. That is true, that's what card advantage means. But on the other hand, Reckless Greed is like a really good card. Like it's well designed. It's a card that does reward certain decks. It has been played in a variety of aggressive decks in the past, but it's not so good that every deck is playing it. It's like a good draw spell. I think it has a clear upside and a clear downside. It's not a perfect card, but I think it is a perfect card design. It doesn't reward you too much and it doesn't hurt you too much. Certain decks will play it. Certain decks will have success with it. Doesn't deserve being banned though, and they like talk about in one of these that like it's unfair. It's like too good that it's like semi-limited, and they're like confused why no one's playing it. The next one, number 11, limiter removal. Yeah, this is where I'm just like, what format are these people playing? What year are they living in? They're talking about how limiter removal is similar to Megamorph in that it doubles the attack score of all machine creatures on the field. Oh, it really bothers me throughout this whole article. They keep saying creatures, and it's like, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, they're called monsters. And they also say, like, attack score. Like, you've ever heard, like, this seems like an article written about Yu-Gi-Oh! By a Magic player that played Yu-Gi-Oh! When they were like 10 years old. That's basically what it seems like. Like, just read the sentence. Like, limiter removal is similar to Megamorph in that it doubles the attack score of all machine creatures on the field at the cost of destroying them at the end of the turn. It's like, it just doesn't sound like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player wrote it. Anyway, moving on. Deck Devastation Virus. Now, there's a really, really good quote in this one, and it's basically when it says that Deck Devastation Virus card is actually better than the Crush Card Virus in some respects, yet it has mostly avoid restrictions. Yeah, that's because the card isn't like Crush Card at all. See, Crush Card, if you don't know, back in the day, before it was eroded to hell, Crush Card Virus is a card that let you tribute a small monster to destroy your opponent's big monsters. Deck Devastation Virus, and the reason it's never been hit, it does the opposite. Tributes your big monster to destroy your opponent's little monsters. Well, it turns out that doesn't really matter, because if you have a big monster, you usually can destroy your opponent's little monsters anyway. So it's like the opposite. It's why it's not very good. But Screen Ran, to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Experts that they are, I think that this card should have been banned, which is crazy. Next up, Skill Drain. I actually agree this card's really stupid. There's like 4 good choices on this list, I think. Maybe just 3. Yeah, Skill Drain, Tour Guide, I can kind of see the arguments. Yeah, Floodgates are stupid, so I'll give Screen Rant that one. Next up, Solemn Warning. Maybe this card should have been banned, probably not. But the funny thing about this one, by the way, is that, oh, you can see the next one too. We'll get to that in a second. That is like the best quote and probably the title of this whole video in the Magic Cylinder section. So the funny thing about the Solemn Warning section is that they don't mention Solemn Warning at all. Like, both those paragraphs are about Solemn Judgment. Like, I kid you not. Like, the whole... the whole paragraphs are just like, this card is almost as good as Solemn Judgment, which, by the way, is like a crazy good card. And like they talk, the first paragraph is all about Solemn Judgment. Second paragraph is like, here's all the things that Warning doesn't do that Judgment does, and I guess that's okay, which is kind of funny. Anyway, Magic Cylinder is the next one. Now, you all know how I feel about Magic Cylinder. This is probably the craziest entry in here, just if we're talking about like the text that's on this one, because it talks about card advantage and then it immediately dismisses it. So here's what they say. The power of a Yu-Gi-Oh card is often defined by the competitive scene and how many cards it costs to equal its effects. This is true. Pot of Greed is the chief example of an overpowered card, as it gives you 2 free cards in exchange for 1, which means that there is no reason not to use one in your deck. This was the case until for years, blah, blah, blah. That is true. They just explained card advantage. They just explained why Pot of Greed can't come back. And then, and this quote's going to blow your mind, Magic Cylinder has a similar kind of effect as Pot of Greed. Like, you just read that. It's like, it's so mind-boggling to me, like, how they can articulate card advantage in one paragraph, and then literally the next sentence throws all of that out the window and says Magic Cylinder, which is a -1, is equal to Pot of Greed, which is a +1. Was this written by two people? Is there like a mystery ghostwriter that like wrote like the intelligent parts of this article, and then like the whatever Scott whatever he like wrote the rest of it, and he like, oh my gosh. So Magic Cylinder, type in the comments if you think Magic Cylinder is similar to Pot of Greed. The next card, Gold Sark. Basically what they say is Gold Sark can search any card in your deck, and that's why it's broken. Obviously not true. This card is horrible. Soul Charge. Once again, it's like one of the 3 or 4 cards on this list. I'll give it to them. Like, Soul Charge probably should be banned. This card's stupid. Foolish Burial. This is, like, I half agree with. I think this card's fine at 1, though. But, like, this is why it's so confusing. And it'll get really confusing. And okay, so, like, as you can tell, I've already read this article. I accidentally did this whole video and then forgot to press record. So I had some live reactions that were pretty great. Like, the number 2 and number 1 spot. But this is why it's so confusing. Is because, like, it seems like every other card, like, they're being, like, really stupid or, like, kind of intelligent. Like, Soul Charge, it makes sense. Like, clearly they know about some modern cards. Or it's, like Tour Guide. Like, it's not that new anymore, but, like, compared to, like, Limiter Removal and, like, those types of cards, yeah, it's, like, kind of relevant. So it's, like, but then you get down, it's, like, Foolish Burial, okay. But then you get down, and it's, like, Deep Sea Diva. I mean, like, Dragoon just went to 3, and, like, the problem is Deep Sea Diva isn't even that good. Like, a lot of people outplay the deck, like, the Mermail deck, say that, like, this card's really risky, gets hit by Ash, it gets hit by Ogre, it gets hit by Veiler, it gets hit by Impermanence, this gets hit by everything that Prince doesn't, because with Prince, you still get to send the card for cost. I think a lot of people think this card would go back to 2 or 3 copies per deck, and it wouldn't make a huge impact on the metagame, which makes it interesting that they put it as banned. But let's forget everything we've just looked at. Let's look at the number 2, the number 1 spot, because I can't make this up, that this is the dumbest thing I've ever read in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Article. And I've read some of my 2012 articles, and I said some pretty dumb stuff. But the number 2 spot for the 15 cards that were so powerful it should have been banned is Megamorph. It's Megamorph. You know what Megamorph does? It's an equip spell card that says, while your life points are lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster's attack becomes double its original attack. A card that saw some fringe competitive play like 10 years ago in like 2 decks. One of them they talk about, which is the Cyberstein OTK. You'd summon a big monster, you'd equip with Megamorph, kill your opponent. That wasn't really meta relevant. Like, Cyberstein was just a good card in general, not so much because of the Megamorph combo. The combo that I was thinking of that they don't even mention, and the real reason this card was like even, I think this was like limited at one point. This card was like ridiculous with Demise decks, not card Demise, but Demise, King of Armageddon. You'd pay 2,000 life points, blow up the whole board, summon Doom Dozer, equip it with Megamorph, and go up to 5,600 attack. Demise would have 2,400 attack. That's exactly 8,000. How do I remember that combo? I didn't even play that format. Anyway, that's like the main reason I remember this card being scary. They don't mention that at all. But they do mention like the modern applications of this card. Evil Hero Infernal Gainer and Evil Hero Dark Gaia. That's what they mention. I don't know what they're smoking, but I want some of it. Number 1, Jinzo. Okay, so when you read this article a second time, it's like watching a movie when you know the spoilers, because when I first was going through this article, right, I was like at the top, and I was thinking, why are they mentioning Megamorph in the limiter removal section? Why are they mentioning Megamorph? Why are they mentioning Jinzo in the Mobius section? Like, why are they, like, or do they even do that, or do I, like, have a, no, yeah, in some ways Mobius is better than cards like Jinzo, as it had the ability to destroy threats that are on the field instead of, yeah, so it mentions Jinzo, and I was like, why are they mentioning Jinzo? Why are they mentioning Megamorph? And, like, I got to the bottom of this article, and I'm just like, oh my god, the person that wrote this article thinks that Jinzo and Megamorph are on the same level as Soul Charge, Skill Drain, and Tour Guide. Not only on the same level of that they should be banned, but this is like a top 15 list, so the lower number you get, the more they think it's a problem, and they're putting Megamorph. I don't know who wrote this. I don't know. It seems like they like played like for a week in like 2014, a week in 2011, and then they played like only pre-2006, and that's where this is coming from. I'm very confused. This article is horrible. Let me know what you guys think about it, though. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know, once again, if you think Magic Cylinder is just as good or maybe better than the legendary Pot of Greed. Screen Rant, if you watch this video, which you're not going to, just don't write any more Yu-Gi-Oh articles. I know they get a lot of press, probably they get a lot of clicks because people like me are laughing at them. I know that's all you care about, but just for the sake of whatever this guy's name was, for the sake of Scott Baird, just stick to like whatever you normally write about, because you don't really play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore and this article looks ridiculous. I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.